Hey, you outgoing, influential communicators, you're great at bringing your teams together, but sometimes too much talking leads to not getting that to-do list done. So today I want to highlight some of those time wasters so that you can continue connecting people while being efficient and getting all the tasks done. So welcome to the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris. Before we dive into today's episode, click here to subscribe. Ring that bell so you're notified each week when we post new episodes. Today, we're continuing our series on time wasters, and I'm going to be talking to the outgoing, influential, high I communicators and talk about the strategies to be more efficient with your time. So who are the high I's? These are our individuals that are outgoing, you're influential, you're assertive, you're all about people and connecting individuals. You're very enthusiastic and persuasive. But if that is being overused, you may come across as vain or manipulative, even disorganized at times. And so I want to talk about your inability to say no to people and getting too involved in conversation and maybe taking away your productivity. So we want to focus on how to be more efficient, how to be able to enhance our performance at work with really highlighting some of those time wasters for these outgoing, influential individuals. So the first time waster for outgoing individuals is excessive socializing. And I'm talking about excessive, not just connecting people, but really going into too much detail, too long of time of really socializing. And I'm talking about at work. This is specifically on the job of really interacting with people that goes beyond kind of those usual requirements to gaining the information and connecting relationally, discussing the task just too much in detail, too many issues, too many rabbit holes, too many distractions. And so what are some of the possible causes for excessive socializing and not being able to prioritize at work? So some of those possible causes are we just enjoy people. We just love people and hearing their stories and connecting. That's pretty normal for you outgoing individuals. We also have this really deep need to be liked by people. And so we want to connect in that way. We can also be creatively motivated when we're around people. We actually kind of come alive with others and our creativity sparks. So that could be another reason for excessive socializing. And then sometimes we allow and maybe even encourage like visitors to come into our office or phone calls to happen because we love that connection with people. And maybe a cause is we just haven't prioritized our daily goals. Okay, so those are some of the causes. So what are some of the solutions? Let's talk about those. First of all, if we keep our daily priorities right in front of us, having literally a to-do list each day of the tasks at hand, and even kind of setting some guidelines as far as time, not only having your priorities written down, but allotting time to each one of those and really kind of putting some weight on the priorities at hand. And then monitoring like how many people are coming and going into your office. If you really need to focus, close the door. That can be really beneficial. And then even kind of screening out limits, even phone limits. I mean, there are, you can put some limits on your phone, but even having some limits for yourself of what you're going to be spending your time doing can help with that excessive socializing. And then being willing to even tell visitors to your office or callers, especially if it's not with the topic at hand or the priority that you're focusing on the moment, to be able to pause that to a later time. So those are some strategies. Number 2, cluttered desk. How many of you live with the piling system? Yes, I am all about that piling system. So a cluttered desk with just too many papers or supplies or equipment, just whatever it is, can really impact our productivity. So what are some of those possible causes? So I just mentioned that piling system. So, even just feeling like we have to file things away, even our desktops, it doesn't have to be be literal papers. It can be our electronic filing system. If we don't have strategies and priorities and time, it can really waste our time. Maybe we want everything at our fingertips. So you have everything on your desktop or you have everything right there handy. That might not be the best way to organize things. Maybe we don't conceptualize a system, like really kind of prioritize and group things in wholes. We see it as a whole instead of grouping things, into categories. That can be a possible cause. And then not having just established timelines. I mentioned this earlier, and having specific tasks and projects listed with timelines. Those can be possible causes for our cluttered desk. Okay, here are some solutions. If it is paper that you're handling, handle it one time. If you grab something, whether it's mail or something that you're going through, either pitch it, file it, or delegate it. Have some organization. Don't just keep picking up the same content and not knowing what to do with it. Figure out what to do with it in one handling of that physical document, or maybe it's an email, being able to file, pitch into your trash, or delegate it to someone else. And then having kind of a setup of, or maybe even someone helps you set this up, of an information storage or retrieval system. So getting some help in becoming more organized is a possible solution. And then unsubscribing from emails or getting off mailing lists, so that if you don't have interest, get it out of your inbox so it doesn't clutter your mind, your desktop, or your physical desk space. And then remind yourself that the time it takes to open a junk mail, it actually is robbing you of an important task. So focusing, that can be super helpful. And then just, again, establishing time limits. I know 2 colleagues that have a weekly meeting, and they built in 10 minutes just for connection, because they're both really outgoing communicators. They set a time limit, and then when the alarm goes off, they focus and get to task. Number 3, open door policy. This can be a real drainer of your time. You want to be liked, you want to be, involved, you want people to come to you, but sometimes that can be very distracting and a time waster. So being able to set up some boundaries so people just don't have unlimited access to you at any time. So here are some of the possible causes. You want to be seen as supportive and available. You want to be social. You want to interact. Again, that's how you really recharge. That's how you become alive and creative. That can be a cause to just having that open door policy that's draining your time and your energy. Having the inability to say no, that's another one of reasons to have that open door policy. And then people can be an interruption, but it also can be a sign of your procrastination. I have a plaque in my office that says, if it weren't for the last minute, ain't nothing getting done. And that's a motto that I've actually kind of worn as a badge, because I realized that adrenaline that would hit me at the last minute, and I was so productive. But I've also had times where that came up and bite me, because unforeseen circumstances happened and then I wasn't able to actually get it all done. You have that happen a few times, and then you realize it's better to plan and take the time instead of waiting to the last minute. But sometimes we use those interruptions as ways of procrastinating to even justify some of our missed deadlines. Don't let that happen. So here are some solutions for you. Set aside time to actually close your door and focus on those work projects. Also, set aside some time to interact with people. As I mentioned, of those colleagues that have that built-in buffer of connection in their weekly meetings, just to, be able to learn about your colleagues and coworkers and have those times of connection. And then being able to learn to prioritize low priorities. If it's just something that's not a top priority, being able to say no is going to be very helpful. And then with your physical desk space, whether it's your actual desk or your desktop, being organized, putting things only in view that you need at that moment can really help declutter all the things that are going on in our brains. And listen to this last one. Avoiding eye contact with people that walk past your office. When we make eye contact, it's an invitation to come in. But if we can stay focused it really does send a message that I'm busy unless, we're pausing and making that eye contact. That is allowing that open door policy to continue. Number 4, and I'm so guilty of this one, long lunches. I mean, if it's a friend that I haven't seen in a while, but we're going to talk a little business, oh my goodness, I block out 2 hours because I'm like, it's impossible to have less than a 2-hour lunch. I mean, it's going beyond the normal eating and normal conversation. It is that extended catch-up time. If you need that, maybe block that out for the weekend instead of the work day. So here are some of those possible causes. Getting involved just with excitement of conversation and just forgetting about the time, like leaving your phone in your purse or having it under your desk or in your pocket, just not being aware of the time. And then seeing long lunches as networking opportunities. That's another possible cause of that long lunch. Like doing business, in social, non-threatening environments. Like, let's go there. It's a very fun environment. And we'll talk about business as well. And then maybe using long lunches as a way to avoid some of the unpleasant tasks that are on your to-do list. We do that. I know we do that. I'm guilty. So here are some of the solutions to combat those long lunches that can happen. Setting specific times. It's not just, hey, let's meet at noon for lunch, but like, hey, do you have an hour? Like 12 to 1. And then even acknowledging that you have a hard stop at a specific time can be really helpful for you in learning how to manage your time there. And then stick to it. Don't just hit pause when that alarm goes off. Stick to it. Have meetings in your office so that you are more aware of time. Obviously, when we have those virtual meetings, it's really helpful to stick to those time constraints. And then setting meetings even just right after lunch so that we have to get back quickly will cause us not to have those long lunches. And then the last thing, and this is also a very difficult one for me personally, but for high eyes in general, is being able to say no. That inability to say no because you want to be liked, you want to be involved, you want to be a part of that conversation or that activity. It's just how we're wired. Some of those possible causes, we just have too many interests and we just want to be involved in too many things. Maybe we're confused of what our priorities are. It's like, I like that. Oh, let me do a little bit more of that. Yes, I can help you with that. That's a possible cause. Failing to set priorities. Not wanting to hurt other people's feelings. That can be another reason that we just can't say no. Maybe we don't want to tell someone in a higher position than us in the organization no, but maybe we do need to set a boundary and reschedule it at a different time. That could be a possible cause. Maybe we're uncomfortable giving the real reason, and the real reason is we're just not interested. High eyes. We usually give an excuse. Oh, I'm so sorry, but I can't. And we have all these excuses where maybe the reason is just like, you know what? I just don't want to. That's an okay reason. But high eyes have difficulty actually communicating that. So here's some solutions. Being realistic, evaluating how much time you have in your day. We all are given 24 hours, no more. Being realistic with that is going to be key. Also, understanding your limitations and what you can do about those. That's another self-awareness piece. Setting daily as well as long-term priorities, having a to-do list, setting those time limits, and then learning to say no. I mean, not everyone needs you in that urgent way. So being able to say no to those people and tasks that maybe aren't supporting your daily or your long-term goals. So hopefully you've learned something. Maybe you've seen yourself as I have in this podcast. Maybe there's some things that you want to start working on. Next week, I'm going to be talking about that high S steady style and some of the reasons that that style wastes time. So join me next week as I dive into more of these time wasters. If you enjoyed this episode and would like more information on emotional intelligence, DISC, or communication, click here to get more content. And we'd also love for you to click here to subscribe so you're notified each week when we post new episodes.